So some people have been posting some questions on Facebook about a car company called Pinetree Motors. Now, sorry about this video, but I've got dyslexia, so it takes me like hours to write like a sentence. So I'll just do a video; it's easier. I went to Pinetree for a motor vehicle off them. My story starts out. My son was born, and he was born disabled mentally and physically, and I decided that I'm going to take the big step of buying a new car, and I rushed into it a little bit. Part of it was my fault as well, but I went to Pinetree Motors and asked them for a Motability car, and basically he turned around and told me, what car did you have in mind? So I picked out a red Ford Focus Estate 2005. I'll just bring up a picture of it here. Don't know sorry, I'm using my my phone here to record this, so yeah, red Ford Focus Estate 2005. It was £7,000, but with finance took it up to 10,000. Right, now I've just mentioned finance, but I've got more to add to this little story about that finance as well. So anyway, there's the car there. Basically, I picked that car. He said for me to come back the next day, and he'll sort something out, because apparently they didn't do mobility there. So the next day came, I went down there, and he says, "Oh, good news." He says, "You can have the car." So I was over the moon. I thought they, did some magic work and got it so I can have a mobility car. So basically, in my haste, I signed paperwork. I didn't read it. I just made it look like I was reading, and signed. Basically, I signed for a car. He said I can come back and get the car in a couple of days. So basically, I went home pretty chuffed. Told the wife. She wasn't too happy about what I just did, but circumstances, I thought it was the best thing to do was get a new car. So I go and pick the car up, and the day I picked it up, I drove off the forecourt and down towards McDonald's, and on the way down that straight road, the engine management light come on. So I went straight round the roundabout and took it straight back to Pinetree Motors, and at that point they gave me a Kia Rio to borrow until they could figure out what was wrong with the car. So they had the car then for 3 weeks, apparently working on it, and I was ringing them, what's going on? I want my car. I've time for it. I've paid for it. I want my car. And basically, one day they turned around and said, "Yeah, it's done. Come and get it." So I went down there. I picked it up. I went out, took the car home, and then we went to go and put the kids in the car, and went to go down and take it to the mother-in-laws to show the parent-in-laws the new car. And it was a short journey. It's only down to Almanford, which is about 25 mile, 30 mile. And basically the engine management light come on again, and it went into limp mode. I got the car recovered, and I took it back to Pinetree Motors, and basically they had it in the shop for a couple of more weeks, then I say about 2 to 3 weeks again, and I was ringing for updates on the car, what's wrong with it, and they turned around and told me it's the turbo gone. So obviously I'm a bit disgruntled now, because £10,000. The first day I took it out, it broke down the first day, and then, you know, the minute I took off the forecourt, I get the car back, and then I've had the car for a day, and it's broken down again, and it's gone back. Well, now they've tried telling me it's because of the way I drive, that I must have been booting the car about because the turbo had gone. So, yeah, my temper flared up a bit. I started shouting and screaming a little bit. You know, as you would, it's £10,000. That's a lot of money to me. Basically, they tried fobbing me off, saying that they'll get the car fixed, they'll have it to me in a couple of weeks. And I told her I'm not happy with that. They can keep the car, and I want them to go and cut me a cheque for £10,000. And he was telling me I haven't got a leg to stand on, he's not going to do it and all this. And I told him I know my rights. So with that, he told me to come back. So I went back the next day, and you know, I said, you know, what are you doing then? And he says, oh, we've come to the decision that we're going to exchange the car for you, so go out onto the forecourt and pick another car. Sorry, I just remembered. Whilst all this is going on, they tried lending me an Audi A4 to go home in. And I went to drive that off the forecourt, and it wouldn't even stop. When I come to the junction, I had to use the handbrake to actually stop the car, because it had no brakes. So that went back to them straight away, basically. I lost my temper a little bit. Basically, they gave me another car. I'll get a picture of it up. Another Ford Focus, but not an estate. Same year, 2005. And, right, and when you look at the picture now, this will be explained in a second now. But this is the car. I haven't got a picture of the car when I first got it. But here it is. Now there is my second car. Well, yeah, second car from them within a matter of months. That's the replacement car right there. Okay. So I went there, I picked up this car. I wasn't happy. I was quite tamping. I told her, I don't know, I let them know this because I you know what I mean, I paid an extra £400 on top of the finance for this warranty thing that with the first car, with the estate, and they're moaning about money that they're having to spend on fixing it. So basically they gave me this car, and the guy told me straight, he says, don't you ever come back to this forecourt again, because we're not going to help you. Now get your car and get the fuck out of here. And that's exactly how he said it to me as well. So I take the car away. It's fine. It's driving around. Not had any issues with it. I was starting to get quite chuffed with the car. I thought, yeah, maybe, you know, I got done with a bit of a melon, and you know, it happens sometimes when you go to a forecourt, you know. But yeah, anyway, I was driving down to, in fact, I was just going past Pinetree Motors at the time. I was going to my dad's house in Sandfields, and there was a big puff of smoke with a loud bang coming from the engine bay. Smoke everywhere. I thought my engine had blew, but it hadn't. I later found out that the seals had gone in the injectors. But anyway, this is the mess it left me. There's the car right there, and if you could see that, it's like thick tar all over the top of the engine. Now, I'm not very good with engines myself, I'm not gonna lie, but the guy told me I'm not allowed back there, so I had a crack at fixing it myself, and I snapped a bolt inside the engine. So this is basically me cleaning the top of the engine, and then, sorry, wrong picture, and then trying to basically fix the car. And there you are, I took the top of the head off. There's the head and the mess that was on there. Now I told them about this, and basically they told me they're not gonna handle with me anymore now. Put the phone down on me. Right, so the story hasn't ended there. I know it's been a long video. Basically now, I wanted them to have that car back and give me my money back. So we started going through the paperwork to go to Citizens Advice, and upon reading the the paperwork, which by the way doesn't tally up with the silver car because I didn't get any new paperwork for it. All the paperwork was for the red estate. Well, upon reading it, I later discovered that basically they didn't get me a mobility car. They got me finance, and the way they got me finance was by ringing the finance when I wasn't there, telling them that I was a manager of a Tesco's in Swansea, and got me finance. And then when I was there, I said to him, oh, I thought you didn't do mobility cars. He goes, oh, I see, there's always a way to get around things, he said. So I've got, if you sign this, then the car is basically yours. So I've signed it. So yeah, they lied. My advice to anybody, if you ever hear of anyone asking about Pinetree, thinking about going Pinetree, don't bother. It's not worth it. The hassles you get from their aftercare from buying a car is diabolical. And just to explain that most of their cars that they've got there right now are ex-fleet cars, hire cars and things like that. And the only reason they get sold is because they're problem cars. They're the cars that give most issues. I mean, you know what I mean? It happens with every single vehicle that you buy from every single company. There is cars out there that are weak cars compared to most other cars, and they're more prone to breaking down. Now, these cars get passed on to places like Pinetree Motors, Trade Centre Wales, which do work with Pinetree Motors, by the way, because they share staff. I've seen the same manager in Pinetree Motor from Pinetree Motors in the Trade Centre down the road. So my advice is don't bother unless you know a decent mechanic that knows newer cars. Because if it was an older car, you wouldn't have caught me out, because I know a way around the older engines, but because it's so new, you know, take someone you know. But my advice is stay well away from Pinetree Motors. They are shoddy. Their cars are shoddy. And they've left me £10,000 out of pocket, basically. And, well, £10,000 to my family is a lot of money. £10 to my family is a lot of money. Stay away from them. Take my advice.